The latest DLC for Stellaris Astral Planes has arrived, bringing a whole new mechanic to exploration alongside the usual civics, origins, and more in both the paid DLC and free content. So what exactly is this new content, how does it work, and is it any good? Let's dive in and find out. And a huge thank you to Paradox for sponsoring this video. This isn't a review, but I can still say whatever I want about this DLC, so don't worry about that. And look for Paradox, I think this one's pretty sweet. So first of all, let's go through the paid content of this DLC before covering the free patch later. First up, we have a bunch of new mechanics around the whole Astral Planes, which makes a lot of sense since that is what the DLC is called after all. Astral scars have been added and act like any other resource deposit in a system and can be built on to harvest astral threads, which is of course a new resource. This resource can be spent in the new Discovery tab on the left-hand menu under the Astral Actions tab. Just over 3 months since my 2023 guide, and it's already outdated. Brilliant. Once the necessary research is completed and you start collecting astral threads, they can be spent in this menu on a variety of actions, and the more you explore the galaxy, the more actions are unlocked, and some of these later options can be pretty wacky, from research boosts to free structures. The most important action in the menu is Astral Splitting, which opens up a new astral rift inside your Empire's borders, so long as you have enough room. This has a hefty 10-year cooldown, limited number of uses, and ever-increasing cost, but is the key to unlocking more actions. Astral rifts may be explored once the Rift Sphere technology has been completed, in an action similar to archaeological excavations, but with a touch more risk involved. There is a whole range of rifts with their own branching narratives, which change depending on your choices. Completing these exploration chains will reward you with all kinds of resources, such as research, unity, and more astral threads, as well as unlocking more astral actions and increasing your storage capacity for threads. These are almost always worth going for, as the rewards you gain from exploration and incredibly strong astral actions are super useful in just about every single campaign you could ever play. As for these new gameplay features on the whole, I think they're pretty damn strong, and I think that every single game you are going to want to use them and make the most out of them, because the effects you get from some of these things is absolutely crazy. And as well as this, it's kind of just like an excavation. Yeah, there's a little bit more risk involved, but you basically just send over a sign ship, it does its thing, you make a choice every now and then, and you get a ton of rewards at the end. What's not to love? Next up, we have 4 new civics being added to the game. First up, Sovereign Guardianship. This focuses on defending a small amount of territory and punishes you for overexpansion. The hefty increases to empire size from planets and systems can quickly scale you out of the game if you take too much territory, especially early on. However, by focusing on the planets you do have and rushing growth of both pops and districts, you can easily scale your production without empire size slowing you down. This makes the Civic a great choice for building tall, since you'll also gain bonuses to diplomatic weight to stay relevant in the diplomacy game, even if you'll still be a smaller empire. You'll also be able to make use of the Fanatic Guardian defensive armies to make your worlds so much harder to defend, the Reloading Bane star bases to increase friendly fire ship rate and defense platform capacity, and make use of the Inner Focus Edicts to trade influence of unity, which is a great option since you won't need it for expansion. This, combined with the unity you gain from soldiers, encourages you to build very military defense focused to skyrocket unity production and burn through those traditions in no time. Lastly, the first Citadel Council position enforces that defensive playstyle just a little bit more, with many bonuses to armies and fleets defending in their own territory. If you're looking to build tall and basically be immune to invasions, this is a great choice. Next up, Hyperspace Specialty. This is a much simpler civic and acts more of a little modifier than something which dictates your entire playstyle. It brings effects allowing you greater vision of surrounding systems, greater sublight movement speeds, and faster physics research. This research will help you reach hyperlane breach points much faster to unlock improved hyperdrives for your ships and transit hubs for space stations to allow for easier resettlement between your planets. Lastly, the Hyperlane Supervisor position will increase the stability of your planets based on how many buildings you have in star bases, encouraging you to grow them and fill them up to maximize planetary production. Another great pick for building tall, since you can have star bases above all of your planets pretty easily to max out stability in no time, as well as the many other benefits you'll gain from all the unique buildings. Great sensor range will also come in useful, so you can keep an eye on what's out there, and you can't be mad at faster ships and signs. We also have Dimensional Worship. This allows you to build dimensional shrines in star bases where there is some sort of space-based McGubbin, and provide your empire with unity per building. I believe you can stack this, so feel free to build as many as you want to grind unity at a fairly insane rate. As well as this, you can gain an increase to your astral threads income, allowing you to make use of the new astral actions much faster. You have a high chance of rifts appearing in your territory, and a slight increase to the chances of rare technology options appearing, which should stack with any other modifiers to this number. Lastly, the Astral Minister position allows any priest pops to provide physics research. This is a pretty niche civic for a spiritual build, and only really serves to get more out of the new astral content, which is just fine, but outside of a build where you're hyper fixated on astral exploration, it won't really offer you a ton. And lastly, we have Dark Consortium. You start with dark matter drawing already researched, allowing you to harvest dark matter right out the gate, if you can find some, and you better hope that you find some, as you also have access to a number of dark matter costing edicts. Shadow Matrix improves your espionage game, both offensive and defensive, Dark Matter Forging improves alloy production, Dark Matter Unraveling improves monthly credits, and Baryonic Insight improves physics research. You'll also have access to the Dark Matter Breakthrough Council agenda once you reach Technology 5. This improves your chances of more dark matter related technologies appearing. Lastly, the Shadow Weaver position grants extra dark matter from researcher jobs, making a tech focus a great way to make extra resources, as well as reach that tier 5 even faster. This is a bit of a curveball final civic since it has basically nothing to do with anything else in the DLC, but you know, why not? You can use this for basically any game, and as long as you're into dark matter and what you can use it for, it'll bring you plenty of value. And the last bit of paid content is the Rift World Origin. This origin is of course all about the new Astral Rifts features. All systems you control have a much higher chance for them to appear, and your empire gains bonuses to exploration speed and success chance, allowing you to reap the rewards far more easily and far more often. You'll also start on a planet with an ancient crater archaeology site. This can obviously be excavated and reward you with mine artifacts and 50% of the Rift Sphere technology, allowing you to explore Astral Rifts. This is well worth doing early on to unlock exploration as fast as possible, since as I said, it can provide you with some hefty bonuses with a little bit of luck. Once you have unlocked exploration, this origin will also increase your speed of exploration and chances of success pretty substantially, making it a great option to lower the risk and time investment to gain many resources you can get from just doing it. Honestly, this is just an origin to get you to the Astral Planes gameplay as fast as possible, and in a lesser DLC I'd complain, but here, honestly, it's just fine. There's tons to do in this DLC anyway, so letting you get into it as soon as possible and not adding more distractions through storylines is just fine by me. And of course, half the fun of a Stellaris DLC is the free game update coming alongside it, and the, I want to say Pixis update is no different. There's a whole host of changes from quality of life to reworks, and while I won't cover every single thing here in excruciating detail, both because it'd take far too long and not be particularly interesting to hear that a 1 has been changed to a 1.1, still, let's go through the big changes that you'll notice as soon as you boot up the game. First up, we have leader consolidation, and this is probably my favourite thing added in both the paid and the free content, since it just feels like one of those things that should have been in the game all along, so fits right in. So instead of the old system where you have a total leader capacity, now you have capacity for different kinds of leaders, and they've been reclassified a little bit to keep things tidy. Admirals and generals both fall under the commanders, which is of course the military class. All new classes also have a new set of veteran roles, and your options for commander are of course all about military, so more damage, soldier jobs, and shipbuilding. Your choice as always depends on what you're using the leader for, whether that's leading fleets and armies, working on the council, or even governing planets, which they can do now, and I'll come back to shortly. The old governors class has now been changed to officials and has consolidated governors as well as some functions from the envoy system, allowing a bit of multiclassing here and there. Since so much has been combined, their veteran skills have seen the most variety for a range of different positions. You can focus on federations, the galactic community, governing planets and sectors, or just council work. And lastly, scientists, which have been kept pretty much the same as the sole members of the scientific group. Their veteran skills have also seen the least changes, but you still have options for their massive array of roles: exploring the galaxy, excavation and astral exploration, research assistance, governing, and council work. The capacity being split between these groups is a fantastic change. Before, when I wanted more scientists, I was always filling up my entire capacity, leaving sectors without governors or fleets without admirals. Now you just work with the capacity for each type and it feels so much better to play. The council positions have also been opened up to more types of leaders too, making it a lot easier to fill your council with leaders without having to specifically recruit them for just those roles. Speaking of roles, governors. Yes, having any kind of leader being able to work as a governor is another great change no matter which way you look at it. First of all, each leader type will provide different bonuses to their sector and planets, so you can focus on areas of your empire a lot more. Add on those veteran skills and you can really push your sectors in a certain direction and rocket production of whatever you want. It also gives leaders more to do, which is especially nice alongside the council requirement changes. So you can recruit a leader to work in a council position, and then rather than being sat idle if they aren't the right role to man a sign ship or a fleet, they can be set to work governing a sector to keep them busy and give you some bonuses. I don't know about you, but I normally had a governor or two, then my capacity was just needed elsewhere, but now I'm going to be using a lot more leaders and having as many sectors as I can governed. Speaking of new roles, any leader in the officials category can now be given a different kind of job aside from just governing. These are to work on federations as representatives or on the Galactic Council as an emissary. This is a pretty small change, but still allows you to expand their roles, specialize them using skills if desired, and make sure you can use all of your envoys elsewhere if you don't have enough to cover everything at once. Officials are probably the most niche, especially if you're not building massively wide, so giving them more roles is fine by me to let me use that full capacity even if I had limited planets and sectors. The council legitimacy mechanic has also been given an actual function. I believe it's been in the game a while, but it has only just been given actual mechanics. It's pretty much just a representation of how much of your population is on board with your council, and the higher it is, the faster agendas will go through, and inversely, the lower it is, the slower things will move. The way it is calculated is by the approval of all of the factions in your empire by their percentage of the population, which is just a real complicated way to say that if all factions are happy, this will be high, so make sure all the factions that encapsulate the most of your population have approval as high as possible, and you should have no problems. One last thing I'm going to mention is a couple of major changes that have been made to the UI. First, and at least exciting, is the content browser, which lets you look at the many DLCs for Stellaris, and pretty much is an easier way to view each one and what they add. However, the most exciting change to the UI is the new outliner improvements. We all know that by the end of the game, the old outliner was just an endless list of things and a real pain in the booting to navigate. Well, no more. Now everything has been separated into tabs. Glorious tabs. At the moment, there are 4 options for government, ships, politics, and structures. Government has all of your planets, situations, and space stations. Ships obviously houses all your ships, military and civilian. Politics has your observation posts and factions in your empire. And lastly, structures will of course have, well, any megastructures. Each tab also has notifications to let you know when something needs your attention. These are the usual actions such as a ship needing a leader, a planet having unemployed pops, etc, etc, etc. So if you're looking for something to do, clear those numbers can be a great way to start. They've said that all this is still being worked on, so if you don't like how something looks now, chances are that they'll probably change it themselves or add the option to changes as this evolves over time. And as I said, all of this content is also being joined by tons of quality of life changes, balancing tweaks, and much, much more. It is honestly a great patch, paid content or not, so if you've been looking for your moment to get back into Stellaris, I think this is probably it. Let me know what you're most excited for in this new patch in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and if you want more Stellaris content, then why not check out this video here to see the top 10 noob mistakes you should avoid making.